guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Purple Related on YouTube. Thank you for clicking play, especially to this particular video. I am certain it will bless you, and I went through a lot in order to post it, so stick around to the end, okay? So I'm sure you can observe that I'm not in my usual comfort zone on the floor. Well, everything about this video was out of my comfort zone, so I said, why don't I just go all out and try something different? No? Yeah, I hope it turns out good. I hope it turns out okay. So right into the gist of the day. I have a lot of gist in this video. I'm sure you'll be interested, right? All you gist lovers. Anyway, what testimony? I'm sure you must be wondering. Yeah, I have a lot of testimonies. God is always good to me. God has always been good to me. But then there is this particular one that stands out that I thought to share because, I mean, why not? It inspired me and I was kind of led to do it. So, yeah. Now, I don't know whether to say this before or afterwards. I think I'll say this afterwards. So, I felt some type of way even naming this video what I named it, but it is what it is, right? Anyways, my testimony. So this is basically about how I became serious with God. I feel like I've been a Christian for as long as I can remember, but then there is always that one particular moment in your life, that henceforth moment when things just change, and you realize that Christianity was more than what you thought it was, right? Hope that makes sense. So, I will tell you at the end of this story, I will tell you why it took me so long to share it and why I felt somehow, why I even thought about not sharing it at all. I'll explain why. So, like I said, I think I have been Christian all my life, like almost all my life. My parents are pastors. They were pastors, they still are. So I've always known God, yeah. But then God was just God. It was not God, yeah. He was just far away, and I was afraid of hell. I felt like there was even this one time I literally felt like if I say I want to go to hell, the ground will open up and swallow me. Like, it was that bad. Of course, no one should say that, but then I had wild thoughts. But then that was even when I was little. Growing up, my life really got wild from senior secondary school. Not really wild. I'll explain. It was in senior secondary school that I got a boyfriend. I started to do a lot of things. See, if my parents watch this video, you guys, it was in the past. Right now, I'm a Jesus baby. I don't do none of those things no more. It's just to inspire people. Nobody should come after me. But then I'll go on. So I started to do normal teenage stuff you do when you have a boyfriend. Staying up all night. I've snuck out a couple of times. The relationship lasted up until uni. And I realized that I can be very invested in relationships, not just romantic relationships, even friendships sometimes. Though I had this obsession with having a best friend, and because I didn't have a best friend, I used a boyfriend as the next best thing, and I was super dependent on them. It became idolatry. That relationship became idolatry. Like, my vice principal in secondary school found out. She told me to break up with him unless she would report us to my mom, and I didn't want that because but then I did. Then we got back together again. My sister found out. I did. We got back together again. My family found out. They saw chats. They saw everything, and then we had to break up. But guess what? We got back together again. It was that obsessive, and then it literally took God. Like, at the end of the day, I was the one that walked out of the relationship by myself. But then this is not even particularly about the relationship, even though that played a strong role in why I was distracted from God. So in all of this, I think about God. I only thought about God on Sundays, or when I was doing family devotion, or until I had this experience. Okay, let me quickly finish that whole relationship story. So nothing could break us up. Like, we would break up and come back together. It got to a point where we were together, but we didn't call ourselves boyfriend and girlfriend because we didn't want to disobey. Yeah. So the deceit of the enemy was that you don't have to call yourself it, but you can still be it. Like, the form is different from the content, which is still deceit and which is still a lie. So yeah. So fast forward to my first year in uni. The relationship was still on, but then I went for this summer camp, Young Ecclesia Nation. Love you guys. And then a friend of mine invited me. It was being hosted in my secondary school. So I thought it was a camp about, forgive me, I kind of have a little cold. I thought it was a camp where, we watch movies and you watch camp scenes, and I was expecting we would all sit down outside, sing songs, roast marshmallows, learn music, meet boys, do all those kind of stuff. And I was getting ready, and they say, oh, there's God. I assumed, okay, maybe we'll say opening prayer and closing prayer. It was a trap. I didn't know what I was entering. I didn't know what God was leading me into. I got there and then I was wowed. Just to make it clear, there were no bonfires, there were no marshmallows. There were boys, but then it was way different from what I had in mind. So the camp was a prayer and fasting camp. Hey, I came here to have fun. For now I come fasting and prayer. Hours of teaching. I said, what is this? What am I doing here? And then I saw young people moving in. They were flowing in the gifts of the Spirit. I saw people falling. I saw people screaming. I was like, what is this world that I didn't know existed that is happening all around me? And that was my first taste of what it felt like to be conscious of God. Yeah. So after that summer camp, my life was changed. Or rather, the change had begun. Yes, the change had begun, but then it still isn't. God is still working on me, working on everybody, but the change had begun. But then I couldn't sustain it, because after that I went back. There was no form of, how do I put this? There was no way to sustain the fire I had gotten. So I went back to my relationship. Even I got a word at the camp said from someone that relationship you are in, let the guy go, blah, blah, blah. After I felt guilty, we let each other go. Guess what? We came back together. So, like I said, I didn't have structure. I didn't have what to sustain the fire with. I didn't have the right company. Okay, gradually, I went for the retreat. The summer camp was in like July. I went for the retreat, and this was 2015. I went for the retreat in December. Gradually, God was working on me. I became more open to things of God. I became more conscious of God. I started to participate more. I never missed a summer camp. I never missed a retreat. Then in 2018, 3 years after, I was still in this relationship. God was still fighting for my attention. I had an epiphany. I don't know if I used that word correctly, but then I had a moment where I realized that I've been fighting for too long. This relationship gotta go. You're a good guy, but you gotta go, my nigga. You gotta go, my nigga. So by myself, no coercion, no external influence, just internal influence, I ended the relationship. And I would say that 2018 is the year I experienced growth spiritually like I had ever experienced it in my life. It's like God finally had my attention, and he was so happy. He was just like, rah, like, I'm here for this. And then it was great. And then ever since then, I have been growing, and then I bless God and I thank God. And yeah, so God chased me and he got me, won my heart over, actually, completely and utterly. But now everything is sweet and dandy, right? Lovely testimony. But the reason I didn't want to share this is this. I'm sure a couple of people can relate, but then I didn't feel like the testimony was genge. Because guess what? My roommate had a more outstanding testimony. She was significantly morally a little bit more exposed than I was. She participated a little more than I did. And then she had asthma at that time and all of that thing. The way God did her own, it was evident that God's fingerprint was all over. She got cured of the asthma. A drastic 360, like you could barely recognize her. And then another one, my friend's twin brother, someone that he was basically a shadow of himself. He used to live his life in a haze. And then all of a sudden, God came in after much prayer and another 360 transformation. And you're like, wow, who are you? And now he's spitting fire. He's teaching the word. He's praying for hours. He's giving people words. He's having words in his sleep. Like, complete transformation. So I looked at those people around me. I felt cheated. I was like, my testimony isn't that genge. I mean, what did I do? I didn't do anything. I didn't really experience anything drastic. God did not appear to me like he did to Saul. God didn't set a bush on fire for me like he did to Moses. God did not part any Red Sea like he did to the Israelites. I was like, so at some point I was even saying foolish things like, I shall not go and sing properly so that God will come after me again. And my friends were like, what? I was saying silly things, man. The devil was just using that little opportunity of doubt to come at me. I would say things like, come, it's only malaria I've ever had in my life. Well, how come I've never been admitted into a clinic? Instead of me to be thanking God, I would be thinking about these things like, oh, the devil was just trying to make me dissatisfied with what I had experienced. Yeah. But then I began to realize, the Holy Spirit made me realize that, look, just because your story isn't as genge, in quotes, as the rest of your friends doesn't mean it's not still a story. I mean, sin is sin, yes? You people were all in the same boat, even though you were in first class and it seemed like you were a little better off, and some people were in the place for baggage, the cargo area. You people were still in the same ship that was heading towards the same iceberg that was going to sink you guys until Jesus saved you. Sin is sin. And it doesn't change the fact that Jesus came after me. He sent people. He spoke to me. He gave me signs. He was actively pursuing me. But the devil made me question all of that because I heard stories that touched more than mine. And then an analogy came to mind, yeah? For example, if there's an orphan, in the orphanage that doesn't really remember his childhood but just knows he's an orphan, and then he is there, but then later on his parents finally find him. Maybe they misplaced him at birth and they finally find him and they're like, we are rich, we own the state, blah 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 blah, come. And then it's like, okay, redemption. And then he goes, he follows them. Of course he would be grateful. He would be the most best behaved child. He would appreciate it. He would be kind, loving. He would be helpful, all of that. But then on the flip side, there is another guy that all his life he has no riches and a good home. Peradventure he misbehaves and they send him to boarding school. Punishment, yeah. And then he comes back and he's like, fine, I will be proper, I will behave. It doesn't change the fact that he should still behave, he should still act appropriately, he should still be responsible. Just because he has always had it doesn't mean, or he has had a semblance of it, doesn't mean, oh, he now has the, the excuse to behave anyhow. Him and the orphanage boy still received, forgiveness. They still received redemption. It's still the same thing. It's still a story. And oftentimes, it's a lie from the enemy to keep your mouth shut, to make you keep quiet, that, people will not really be transformed by your story. Nothing can happen. People are going through worse. It's a lie. The word says, preach the gospel to every creature, whether or not you have a story. Even if you literally dropped from heaven and immediately you came to earth, you received salvation, you gave your life to God, and then you became a saint, and you start preaching the gospel, it doesn't mean your purpose is different from one that has been living anyhow all his life and now comes into salvation. You can still fulfill purpose even though your story might not be as genge. It will still inspire somebody, it will still encourage somebody. Somebody somewhere will still be able to relate. Your story might just be what they need. That self-righteous person that is like, I don't smoke, I don't drink. That self-righteous person that is like, come on, I'm not as bad as the others. So yeah. And then he could hear your story and be like, this person was just as good as I was, but the person still needed saving and the person still got saved. How about me? And then me, the same person that thought I wasn't so bad, my story wasn't so bad, I didn't do that many things. Funny how, thinking about it in retrospect, I did a lot of things I shouldn't have, actually. Things that I won't generally be proud of. But then God, in his infinite mercy, still came after me, And then right now, I'm even realizing that I'm not as good as I thought I was. I'm still learning and uncovering a lot of things. God is helping me work on my character, and I'm like, sure? Mona, you be this. Are you really the one? I'm realizing that I'm not as good as I thought I was. So this is just me trying to encourage you that although your story might be as plain Jane as mine, it might not be as genge. God might not have sent you a burning bush or might not have made you blind with light until you receive salvation, but then it's still a story. And don't allow the devil to make you mute because of that. People still need to hear the gospel. People still need to hear your experience. People still need to know how God saved you, even if it's from white lies to having the Holy Spirit, or from something as grave, as big as prostitution to having the Holy Spirit. Sin is still sin. That is the thing. That's what I want you to take home from this video. Sin is still sin. Self-righteousness is nothing. Our righteousness is like filthy rags towards God. Yeah, and He's the only one that can make us righteous in a way that actually matters. So, yeah, that's my testimony. And I hope you were blessed. I hope you're encouraged to share yours. Please use the comment section, write down yours, use your social media, text a friend, send that message, make that post, and edify someone today. Allow the Holy Spirit to find expression through you, just as He has found expression through me today. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the future. Love and light. Toodles!